Okay. Let's talk about the tight ends. Really no surprise here. We have Travis Kelsey, Darren Waller, and then Mark Andrews as the top three. Maybe you can make an argument for someone else to sneak in there, but I think that's a pretty strong consensus there. Sean, who do you like at the position this week?
I like Dallas Goddard. On DK, he's 3,600, and he's my tight end 10 in my initial projections. I think he's a guy where he was certainly on the tight end 1, tight end 2 cusp last week. I thought he was a pretty tricky sit start call. I think you can definitely feel safer starting him, especially seeing Jalen Hurts. Well, not only Jalen Hurts playing out of his mind last week, but also Jalen Hurts targeting him pretty heavily in the end zone. There was one ball where it looked like Goddard caught it for a touchdown, but it just hit the ground. And then Hurts went right back to him the very next play, and it just got tipped. So that's, two potential touchdowns that Goddard almost hauled in. So, while there might not be a ton of passing yards to go around, I think Goddard is one of those low end tight end ones that we can trust in the fantasy bowl finals. And Zach Ertz did split the routes with Goddard at 64%, but I think at this point it's pretty clear that Goddard is the superior talent. So that's why I think we can trust him. And again, Jalen Reagor might not be able to suit up this week, so that would only funnel even more targets Goddard's way.
Okay, with you on Goddard, especially with the idea of Jalen Rager being out. Raybon, who are you high on?
I like Cole Kmet for the Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky playing a lot better at quarterback. Cole Kmet ran a season high 77% of the a route on 77% of the dropbacks last week, and the Jacksonville Jaguars 28th in DVOA against tight ends and allowing 58.1 schedule adjusted yards per game. And Cole Kmet on DraftKings, he is 3K. Jimmy Graham 3.1K. Jimmy Graham ran, what did he? 38% of the routes to 77% for Kmet last week. So that is just a complete ball drop on the pricing.
Yeah, in DFS over the past 2 weeks, the tight end decision for me has always been: do I spend all the way up for Kelsey, or do I just pay down for Cole Kmet? And I think I will be making that decision once again this week. I really do like Kmet there. Raybon, for all of the reasons that you mentioned, I think he's a very streamable option. The clear tight, played 100% of the snaps last week, has a 15% target share over the past 4 games, and then great matchup. The Jags are number 4 in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So with you there on Kmet. I also like Noah Fant. If you take out week 14, which he left early with an illness, so I think he played only a few snaps there. And if you take out week 12, which was the Kendall Hinton game, and then you look only at the past 4 games in which he actually played, Fant has 11, 7, 5, and 7 targets. That's pretty good volume, for someone who's not priced at the very top. So he's someone that I will be thinking about, and he's the guy I have rated the highest right now outside of the top tier of Kelsey, Waller, and Andrews. Raybon, who are you low on?
So for this week, I'm going with Tyler Higbee. Higbee's up to 4K on DraftKings. He had a pretty good game against the Jets with 4 catches for 67 and a touchdown. But I think that in this matchup against Seattle, it's going to be tough for him. I think if you just look at his production, it just really hasn't been there from what we expected last season. His 67 yards were a season high, and on the season he only has 5 touchdowns, which, given his usage, he should have more. So now that he's kind of in that, people are looking at him as a tight end 1. I think we have to pump the brakes just a little bit. He's my tight end 19 right now. I still think there's a lot of risk because the routes between him and Everett kind of flip flop from game to game. So last week he got 68 and Everett got 32, but the week before it was 56 to 52. And the week before that, it was exactly equal at 69%. So it's just really hard to predict Higbee's going to run a significantly more bigger route share than Everett on a week-to-week basis.
All right, Sean, who are you low on?
I'm low on Gronk this week. He's all the way down to tight end 11. I think he's pretty tough to trust right now. I think he's become a little bit too touchdown dependent. Cam Brate saw his routes run climb 7 straight games before posting a 4-catch 54 game last week. I think also, with Ronald Jones potentially out, Brady's a little bit more willing to dump it off to running backs when it's Leonard Fournette and LaShawn McCoy out of the backfield. So with all the targets to go around, I think Gronk, he's a bit worrisome. I think he has a lower floor than people realize heading into this matchup. So, if there's better streaming option available with a higher floor, I'd consider them. Otherwise, he's mostly a low end tight end one touchdown dependent kind of guy.
All right, a guy I am low on, and I don't mention him every week, but I'm on the rankings low on him every week, and that's Jared Cook. Even without last week wide receiver Michael Thomas and Traquan Smith, Cook wasn't a high volume tight end. He has more than 5 targets in a game just twice this year. He has 181 yards in his past 8 games. That's just really bad, and not all of that was with Drew Brees, but with the lack of volume that he has, I don't think he has a true ceiling, a difference making ceiling. And so someone I just really want to avoid. All right, Sean, give us the tight end prop.
So assuming George Kittle is able to play this week, which I think is trending towards likely, where do you guys have his receiving yards? Because I think he could be an interesting sit start call for some people. But right now I have his receptions his receiving yards at over under 52.5.
Okay, I'm a little bit of a killjoy in that I actually haven't. I haven't projected it because I'm assuming he actually doesn't play, and that's based on nothing other than my laziness. Right. And I don't want to make the projection until I actually have a pretty strong sense that he's going to play. So shooting from the hip, I'm going to take the under and think that he plays, but they don't really have much to play for. And Jordan Reed has maybe done enough to where he gets a little bit more action than you would normally expect. So I will take the under there.
So, yeah, and this is really tricky to project, as you kind of alluded to. So over the past 4 games, the top tight end in San Francisco has, which has been Reed, I think, Jordan Reed has run about 60% of the route. So given that Kittle is coming back from injury right now, that is what I have him projected for, about 60%. His season average is 78%. So there's a chance he could play a little more than I'm projecting. But at that number, I'm projecting him with 51 yards. So I'm going to go slightly under. Nice. But all that being said, he is still my tight end 5. Even playing, essentially like 75% of the route. So I would say, unless you're talking about a Kelsey or a Darren Waller or a Mark Andrews, I would say still start George or Tunyon. I would say still start George Kittle if he's in.
That's I was gonna say. People that had Kittle, maybe they picked up Tunyon. That was about the time that Kittle got hurt. Tunyon might have been available, so they might have that call. I even have a guy like Logan Thomas near my top 5 this week. He's another guy where I could see people asking, hey, do you start George Kittle or Logan Thomas this week? Just guys that people maybe stumbled on that were kind of waiting for Kittle to come back. But he's one of those guys where I don't know if we can trust him to play enough in a critical matchup that is the Fantasy Bowl final. So he's a guy that I just want to get your guys' opinion going in. Like he's obviously start him if you have him, but some of these guys that people picked up might have a higher floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, we have to pay attention to like if he plays at all, because San Francisco, are they officially eliminated or are they?
So, but I think Kittle's one of those guys where he's going to push to play this week.
I think if they let him play, I think they would just scratch him if they thought there was any risk. I think if they let him play, I think it's fair to expect like a 50 to 60%, because I'm basing that projection on Jordan Reed, who's kind of in the same boat, right? Like it's like he's a guy a lot of injury risk. Is he fully healthy? He got hurt like 2 or 3 times this year, and they've kind of been capping his routes around 60%. So I could see them kind of doing the same thing for Kittle, but I think it comes down to like if he's active at all. We
Yeah.
have to trust him. But like Logan Thomas is an interesting one because I do have Logan Thomas at TE8 right now. But if Haskins or Smith plays, he bumps up. So, but if not, he bumps down. So Logan Thomas is one to check our rankings at actionnetwork.com later in the week.
Right. It's obviously way too early. It's Tuesday morning. We'll know way more later in the week, but this is one of those things to get ahead of and not be, Sunday morning, like, oh shit, what do I do here? It's something that you need to think about heading into your matchup.
Sean, do you have right now CJ Beathard projected as the quarterback?
No, I right now I have Nick Mullins because honestly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
think
you say that, but as we all know, CJ Beathard and George Kittle played college ball
Right.
together at Iowa, so they have the shower narrative going for them. So that might
True.
boost your yardage projection up like 5 yards.
Right. When it comes to Kittle, let me rephrase that. When it comes to Kittle, certainly that matters. But right now, we don't even know if Kittle's playing. So that's just way too many variables to try to perfect Tuesday morning.